Flogcast may occasionally contain explicit content that makes it not safe for work or for minors. It also doesn't provide an excuse to use the same words on Bay 13. Normal big footy rules still apply. So this is the Flogcast post-season wrap. Fyfie joined by Tyler Durden.
Hello.
Dan.
G'day.
And joining us for the first time in about a month, Duckula.
Relegated to third now. What's this shit?
Well, Cat Wrangler's gone. There's no reason to put you first.
Well, hello, everyone.
Yeah, well, you're a shit-house West Coast supporter, so you just take your place.
Is there good ones, or are they all shit house?
No, you're all shit ones. You're the boo crowd, so third place, just sit where you are.
I'll be thankful then.
And back for his second appearance since about 10 weeks ago, we have Jack Off Watts.
G'day.
And lastly, after his team got up, yes, we have a very prominent Hawthorn supporter. It's the cat. No, it's NetworkNerd.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. The happy flying home.
How's it going, guys?
Well done, Network.
Look, there's only one place to start. Grand final recap. Let's start with NetworkNerd.
Well, big sigh of relief.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Nerd.
Did you go Network or not?
No, it was my wife's birthday party on the Saturday, so we just stayed at home and...
Seriously,
yeah,
you stayed home for your wife's birthday party and you didn't
Husband
go
of the year.
fucking slack.
And it was 16 against 1, so 17 people there, 16 people going for Freo, just myself going for Hawthorn, but glad we got up, stuck right up them, and we've copped enough crap in the last 3-4 years.
Your missus didn't back you up, seriously?
No, she went for Freo. She was giving me crap all week.
Who does she actually barrack for?
She goes for Carlton, but no, it was really good to get the win, and there's a whole bunch of Bay blow-ins. In posters that I've never heard of that go for Hawthorn, but look, everyone's going to have their few weeks or so, and then hopefully it dies down, but in reality, we'll probably be gloating all summer, and we'll be the most hated team around the Bay again in no time.
I have my suspicions that one of those blow-ins is a Boss Goliath. There's no way he could have controlled himself.
Well, what I'm wondering is that, seeing as your missus was a Carlton supporter and barracking for Freo, did she have to put up anything when Hawthorn won? Did you get anything special?
Oh, we won't go there.
I think we should.
No.
I think we should.
No, she looks after me well, and if I wanted something, I'd want like my favourite meal or something, but nah.
Oh, you're a weak bitch. You're not giving us anything. We want to know what happened.
Nah, it was my gloating, I think, was enough. I didn't want to push it. So.
Well, anyway, I mean, we don't have our number one book supporter on the Flogcast. I'm not saying that Network Nerd is not a great Hawthorn supporter, and we do love him, but the Wrangler. So I got a bit of inside information from the cops. A friend of mine, works for Victoria Police, and he let me know something about the Wrangler and perhaps why he's not been on. The Wrangler went missing with the Comancheros, and he was subjected to some brutal treatment to do with pack rape.
Water torture.
Yeah, so we understand how he might feel a bit shy and a bit unable to come on, but let's hope that he enjoys the Hawthorn win and not his brutal treatment by the Comancheros in the last few weeks.
I would have guessed he kidnapped Kevin Sheedy.
Oh, yeah, maybe he did that too.
Why?
Well, he hates him.
You obviously don't listen to the podcast, do you?
He would have done some terrible things to Kevin Sheedy.
Is it possible that Wrangler's thrown him in Bombers 2003's rape dungeon?
Oh.
Wouldn't wish that on anyone, seriously, would you?
Bombers has got one of those wells that Buffalo Bill has, I reckon. Putting lotion in the basket and passing it down every night.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or it gets the hose again.
But yeah, back to the grand final. What do we think of the game as a spectacle?
Boring.
Boring?
Shit.
We got any other adjectives?
Shit out.
I really enjoyed the hilarity that was the Fremantle Clanger Fest, if that's what you want to call it. There was just their shots on goal, and the pressure that got to them was just embarrassing.
We were discussing
discussing before we started that it was hard to pick a best on ground, and for the Norm Smith, and Ballantyne was just about that for Hawthorn.
Oh,
he's
yeah,
terrible.
he should have been wearing a Hawthorn jumper. It was not a great spectacle to behold.
Nah, no way.
It wasn't. It was an ordinary game, and when Freo fuck up their own style of play, they look really, really bad. And they still managed to get within 3 points, close to three-quarter time. But at the same time, Hawthorn just did enough.
I don't think Hawks ever got out of third, you know what I mean? They were just cruising along.
Yeah, I agree.
They didn't really need to put the foot down. Even though there were some tense moments, it just never seemed like that they really asserted themselves.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I still reckon there were times there when Freo actually lifted the tempo a bit and Hawks looked fragile, but it's happened for such a short period of the game that Hawthorn were never troubled by that. They were never put in a position where they had to scrap for it. They always kind of had control despite Freo's occasional bursts.
Yeah.
I felt we were never really vulnerable for an extended period of time. There was a couple of spikes here or there from Freo would get a bit of a roll on for maybe 5 minutes at most, but Hawthorn would wrestle back control quite quickly. But if you watch the replay, there's so many shots where...
I won't be watching it.
Me neither.
When I think Ballantyne marked maybe 45 metres out, and Michael Walters, he was on his own, about 20 metres in the clear, and then the camera just panned onto him and just had this look on his face. It's like, oh...
Yeah, he burnt him big time on that one.
Definitely more than one of those incidents, and just as a club, they're just overawed. And look, I'm not sure who's more happy about the win. I think the West Coast supporters were, I think, just as happy as the Hawks that we got up. So maybe Duckula can provide some input from the.
I'm enjoying it.
Like, the other WA team.
In a two-horse town, you notice when one team is in it. Obviously, when the Eagles are in it, nothing's changed for me. But when the Dockers have got up, they just spring up from everywhere, and it's the same, I guess, as every team that you get your bandwagoners, but it's just a lot more noticeable in Perth. And I think the whole kind of attitude of a lot of, I don't know, maybe Perth media was that, we should get behind them because we're West Australian. It's like, nah, fuck them. I don't follow WA. I follow, the Eagles. I'd rather see the Eagles in the final, and whoever else is in there, I don't really give a shit. You know what I mean?
And how good was it that little fucking hobbit Ballantyne was wog?
Yeah, you reap what you sow.
Oh, yeah, I jizzed over that. Fucking little shit.
And he dominated it. He picked up about 80% of the vote in that, that's a landslide in anyone's language.
He was like a headless chook. He was either moving too fast to control himself, or he was like just hooking the
shed
ball.
Himself. He absolutely shed himself.
Yeah, horrible.
Amazing if he hadn't have been so selfish in the second quarter when that shot was taken. It would have been their first goal if he gave it off. But if he had have actually got that goal assist up, whether his day would have turned out differently. But you could kind of tell when he fucked that up. He'd made one or two small errors, and when he did that, you just realised for the first time he's not having a good day. And the last quarter was just the icing on the cake.
Nah, he was leaving it behind, and he was running over. And when he was running over, it wasn't like a Cyril clever run over. It was like a proper fuck up run over,
Yeah.
I do want to say something about the shit umpiring, though. That 50 for Buddy in the first quarter,
wasn't there.
That was bullshit. He didn't go anywhere near over the mark. And then you got that Cyril holding the ball in front of goal, which was absolute bullshit as well.
Oh, you got to make a genuine attempt.
Yeah. I'll make a genuine attempt when I've got 15 guys on the back of my head, one of them with the knee in the back of my neck. That was bullshit. So they did it right out of the umpires. But I still think even if Matthew Nichols wasn't there, Hawthorn still would have won anyway.
The Rioli one. That was a pretty poor free kick at a reasonably crucial time, but Freo never looked like winning, and I think they got found out because everyone knows small forwards don't get it done in finals, and their forward line was Pav and a bunch of midgets and hobbits, as you said. Like, that probably wasn't going to work.
It was funny because at the point when they still needed someone tall, that they got rid of Clark and brought in Neil instead of maybe getting rid of Ballantyne.
He was playing a great game.
He only had 5 touches, but he seemed to have an impact. I must have noticed every touch he had because I thought he's playing well.
I thought prior to half-time, most of the Freo players started picking it up a bit, and I think that's when he started playing better footy, and I think that's when they pulled him off, and they brought on, basically a Ballantyne clone, and left Ballantyne in shit form on there, when they should have just left Clark deep. It would have made a hell of a lot more sense.
Jack off Watts, are you going to sleep over there? We haven't heard much from you.
No, I was just watching a replay.
You're watching a replay while we're talking here?
Going to sleep.
Give us your impressions, mate.
Yeah, I don't know, it was just... Yeah.
Fair enough. You are going to sleep.
And it was just shit.
It was succinct and accurate.
Why
I
would
mean-
we need to elaborate? There is only one word to sum up a lot of that game. It is the word shit.
We've been crapping on for 20 minutes, and Jack Off Watts gave it to us in 2 seconds.
Ballantyne's effort, though, like his fourth quarter was just... They needed to sub him, or Daniel Pearce, who was also... He's got away with it just about how shit he was, because Ballantyne was awful, but Pearce was pathetic.
As was
Excellent.
Zach Dawson.
Do we
Oh.
expect any more?
7 disposals, all handballs, and 4 free kicks against. How does he get a game?
He's got photos.
Yeah, he's.
No,
I
look,
reckon
honestly-
Ross gave him an Alaskan pipeline when they got home, just
Can
to make sure
Can anyone
he
here
knew how bad he was.
Can anyone here honestly say that they've seen Zach Dawson play a good game of footy?
All he's good at is getting his cock out and getting his photo taken.
He let the worst 200-game player in history kick 8 goals on him.
Second now, second worst.
His
he-
definition of a good game for Zach Dawson is not seeing him, basically. That's the definition of when he plays a good game, and unfortunately that doesn't happen.
This is something to do with the mental breakdown of Ross Lyon. If he actually thinks that this guy is a good player, what does that say about him as a coach?
As Duckula told us earlier this year, he's that prick in Monopoly who won't trade properties with you when you've got 2 and you need the 1, and he just won't do it. He'd rather draw the game out and not lose instead of chase the win.
Yeah, he's a suicide bomber. Monopoly suicide bomber.
Was it Jimmy D who was saying he's the best 1% player in the league?
Oh,
I'm not sure if
someone-
I read that.
At
Some
what?
idiot said that.
Yeah, well, he's got to put 100 of them to put in 100%, doesn't he?
Well, he hasn't been giving Pavlich much of a help, has he? As he did with his previous captain.
Maybe that's where he's gone wrong. Maybe Pav had a bit of an awkward night in the hotel room beforehand and then followed it into the grand final the next day.
With all due respect, as funny as it is to laugh at just how shit-house Freo were, and they were pretty piss poor, I don't think we've given Hawthorn enough credit.
No, we've been bashing Freo a fair bit.
Hawthorn did what they had to do, and when they needed to, they stepped up. They had their moments. Like, Smith's goal was huge from about 55.
Yeah, it was a goal.
And other aspects, like that Lake was solid down back. Hodge played another good finals game. They didn't need to play at their best, but they still did enough to roll the purple puffs.
They did the simple things and held their composure better than Freo, and that's where the game was won.
Well, Freo actually completely played into their hands. I mean, they bombed into the forward line, and that's why Brian Lake was the Norm Smith medalist. If they had been playing Geelong, that would have been Harry Taylor being the Norm Smith medalist. And Lake just took intercept mark after mark after mark, and he was just completely confident that he got chop outs from all of his teammates. Coming into the game, I was talking to my mate we were watching the game with, and I said, if Lake doesn't get the Norm Smith, I'll go he. And of course he got it, because Freo just played into their hands, just bombing it in.
This is Jack Off Watts' cue now, isn't it?
Oh yeah, chop out, intercept marks. Tell us all about it, Jack Off.
Yeah, I reckon Jack Watts, Norm Smith next year.
Playing for who?
I'll settle for a Brownlow.
But that's a good point about them bombing it in, because Hawthorn didn't need to drive off half back. If you actually have a look at the stat sheet, Guerra had 9 disposals, Burgoyne had 14, Mitchell had 12. He played a bit more in the middle than usual. Birchall had 26. Birchall was good, but their other rebounders didn't get much of the ball because they didn't need to. They just kept kicking it to Lake and Gibson.
I want to say a good thing about Nat Fyfe from Freo. Even though he missed those early couple of shots, he played his guts out for the rest of the game, and he was Freo's best player for mine.
I thought Mundy, personally, but...
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
talking when you were off and were saying that Mundy seemed to, I think, had a bit of more of a complete game. I think Fife's negatives kind of worked against him from that first quarter, I think.
7 clearances for Mundy. Fife had 5, though. Second on the ground, 7 behind Jordan Lewis. But a couple of other things out of that game, which I think we should talk about. Cyril and his chicken wing.
Oh, yeah. Didn't they just jump up and down on the bay in the last couple of days? These Hawfs jumping up saying, no, he didn't do anything wrong. It was a fucking bad chicken wing. It was as bad as Judd's, and he gets a week. What's going on with that?
Yeah, double points he should be getting to, personally.
Yeah,
I reckon he should have
single week.
I reckon he should have a
And a
month.
KFC voucher.
He needs to have a month off working in KFC.
What I find the worst thing about it is when you watch it, how he just chucks his body weight on it at the end. That could have been really bad on someone who's already
I'm
quite
surprised he got
soft.
in first before Hodge.
Yeah. I got to say, though, it's lucky that, Stephen Hill is an invertebrate, otherwise he could have lost a bone there.
Yeah, well, he wasn't deep fried, so he didn't go in too hard.
I thought that was a significant injustice on the match review panel's part, giving him only 1 week when Lake Blake gets 4 down to 3 when, honestly, the way I saw this was he was silly and he had the elbow out there, but Walters stuck his head out for contact.
Walters is getting a reputation for his diving. This isn't coming from my anti-Freo self. This is on the Freo board as well, if you look hard enough for it. But he's playing a little bit too much like Lindsay Thomas, where if he gets a slight tap, he likes to play it up a bit too much.
Bullshit. Blake took him out. You guys need to shut the fuck up. He did take him out, and he got his just desserts in the grand final. It's double down.
I think Lake's at least deserving of a suspension, and I think that he did put his elbow out and he touched him, but Walters almost got whiplash. He threw his head back that fast.
Yeah, it was an excessive suspension, even with double points.
Oh, wasn't it? It wasn't a Jetta thing. Oh, yeah, maybe he threw his head back, but he got fucking hit in the head with an elbow. What are you going to do?
Okay, compare that to Rioli. Who did worse? Come on.
Rioli.
Yeah, exactly. And one gets double, one gets the other. The suspension should have been reversed, in my opinion. Rioli should be getting 4 down to 3. Lake should be getting 2 to 1.
Well, I'd agree with that, but you go and talk to Mark Fraser about that. He's a fucking idiot anyway. I know him.
Case closed. The game was shit. Fraser's a fucking idiot.
I do. I know him. He's a fucking...
Couple of other things, and this is something Duckula noted. In the post-match, Campbell Brown in the interviews.
What was he doing in the interviews?
He was interviewing the players.
Every Hawthorn player that he interviewed, he reminded them about how he had won a premiership with them in 2008. Every single one. He's like, oh, it was like when we won it in 2008 and when we were standing out on the oval, you know, and he could not help but trying to live vicariously through him again by bringing it up.
He needs to go back up to the Gold Coast and put those fucking gold Speedos on and, just be a fag.
Speaking of another flog, did anyone watch the post-match? I watched it to see Hunters and Collectors, but then after that, Rompingwins hit the stage. Did anyone happen to catch that?
No, what happened there?
No.
He introduced the players one by one. They walked out on the stage with the cup, and about halfway through, he'd probably just got past Gunston, I think it was. And then, I don't know how it happened, but somehow Dipper ended up with the mic in his hand. Because Rompingwins was doing this ridiculous thing with his, like, trying to be all, Josh Gibson kind of thing.
Such a...
Yeah, he was putting different tones on his voice, I guess. And yeah, by about halfway, they'd given it to Dipper, who could barely say the names, but it was far less cringeworthy.
Where was he doing it? Whereabouts was that?
The stage afterwards, when the bands come back on, players are in the rooms, then they come back out with the cup and they get presented, like, again, kind of thing, without the medal.
Since when has that ever happened?
Last 2 years.
Oh, right, okay. So that happened last year with Sydney and this year with the Hawks.
Yeah, it was a bit bigger this year because I think that last year was the first time they tested it. But the point isn't that they came out on the stage. The point is that Rompingwins made a fuckwit of himself again.
He just needs to get his head on camera to make a fuckwit of himself. Seriously. And I can't believe how he denies the fact that he is Rompingwins on Twitter and the like. What a dick is he?
Yeah.
Hey, Tyler, do you like anyone?
Do I like anyone?
Yeah.
Besides ABBA.
Oh, yeah. I like, Fyfie's all right. You're a bit of a...
Silly. You can't say that word.
Well, you're gonna...
That's just the one word we can't say.
It's the one word Chief said we can't say.
Dan's all right. Other than that,
Yes.
apart from my kids, no one.
What about Gary Ablett? You love him, don't you? You bloody cried over him.
Oh, you fucking arsehole he is.
Next is something that Jack Off Watts really wants to talk about, and it would be pretty big news just about any other week of the year, but the bust-up between Paul Roos and the Swans.
Yeah, can someone fill me in on this? What's this all about?
Paul Roos, head of the academy at Sydney, and yeah, after he's taken the job, he's starting to pinch young players from the academy. Like Sydney want to try and get him as under scholarship, so they just put him on the rookie list. But Paul Roos has said, "Oh, you come to Melbourne, I'll pick you up in the draft, and yeah, you get more money at Melbourne."
How dare he?
How dare he pay them extra money?
He's just trying to get people that he's worked with before to come to Melbourne, and
he's trying to get the band back together, basically.
Yeah, he's doing a bit of the Blues Brothers, but
he wants Stewie Jew as well to be his successor.
Yeah, we'll have a cry, Sydney, because if they want to go and work with Roos, why can't they go and work with Roos?
Yeah, it's fair game.
Whose fucking dog is that?
Oh, that's my dog. Shut up.
Come on, Dan, this is supposed to be a professional outfit here.
I can't help it if the dog barks. I mean, I've upset him more now that I've shouted. Hang on, I'll be back in a tick.
Do you reckon Rompingwins is out there? Yeah.
Carry on.
So, anything else on the Paul Roos split?
Yeah, he's just also pinched in development coaches and tried to pinch Stewie Dew to take over from him, and yeah, just pretty much that. And Collister's just having a cry. Only Sydney are allowed to do AFL sanctioned cheating.
Melbourne wanting more money to pay out Neild and Roos's contract, and it can be considered as the equivalent to Sydney, only this would probably be more dyed collar, I suppose.
Season recap. So let's just go with some of the things we thought were interesting this year. We'll go around favourite moment, whatever criteria you want to use.
Probably our 2 wins over Hawthorn because they were just cracking matches. And then on top of that, I think Posiadley's screamer against St Kilda under lights at Cardinia Park. It was great to have lights down at Cardinia Park for the first time.
Oh, it's such a great stadium.
Yes, it is, Dan.
Oh, it's great.
It's a fucking great stadium.
Isn't it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a shithole, you fucking silly. Yeah, just that was a great thing for me this year.
It's a UFO again.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, who
abducting another person.
Cat Wrangler's been abducted. That's where he went.
Don't probe him, E.T. God, what a highlight. Yeah, when we didn't lose by a single digit, I don't know. Oh, someone turn off that bloody UFO.
Oh, your dog was fucking barking for ages, and then you're about a UFO.
Well, it's not barking anymore.
UFOs abducted it.
Yeah.
For my club, I think Mark Neal getting the arse. Jack Watts winning the game for us against the Bulldogs and getting Paul Roos.
NetworkNerd. I think yours is pretty obvious.
Oh, well, we need to ask him.
Aside from the obvious, I think
Your wife's birthday.
The last 5 minutes of all those North games where they lost, especially the one against Adelaide, were they 30 points up, and you just knew that they were going to lose. Like, yep, there's time, and then goal after goal.
I've never seen North supporters go feral after the game. There were bins being kicked in and people yelling and fighting, and it was just crazy.
It was like everyone would rush the big footy just to make sure that the servers crashed, and I think that was a big event.
That can be my highlight. Any time North got a win, I could actually log on to big footy.
You're a fucking sadist, Network. I mean, seriously, taking just satisfaction in North Melbourne's failings. What is it with you, Hawthorn support? Why do you hate North?
It's been a bit of we played 4 grand finals in a row in the 70s.
Yeah, like when you were 5,
76.
is that right?
No, I wasn't even born back then, but I think,
fucking get off the bike.
No, I just don't like North because they always seem to lift against Hawthorn. You know, they get their asses handed to them by some other club, and then whenever they play Hawthorn on the rebound, they always seem to belt us, and particularly in finals. The 2007 final series, and just other games around the place. They do seem
That's
to bounce
like
back
6
well
or
against
7 years ago.
Well, we remember these things.
Yeah, I think the North thing was something everyone could get behind.
Yeah, mine was going to be the North thing as well, but second
into a North kicking.
Second on the list. It's not so much the North thing. I think it was more the Scott twin having a cry more than anything else. But I think besides that, I think it was the Carlton sausage sizzle. I think that was the highlight of the season for me.
And you, Fyfie?
Well, aside from Richmond making the finals for once.
Richmond beating Gold Coast?
Oh, that was a pretty good one. But no, from an overall standpoint, it had to be the sanctions on the verge of round 23 and the meltdowns that followed, especially with the build-up of the whole Essendon delusion, the Jamestown cult. And then when Vlad came and whacked them, it was just delicious tears. And yeah, you can't top that. And especially all the material it provided. Ugak produced about 3 times as many videos as he usually would.
Yep.
And just, if it wasn't North Melbourne choking this year, it was Essendon's saga.
Well, it's not over yet. They may still get infractions too.
Oh, yeah. But the best parts happened. I think the best parts happened.
The melts were delicious. All of the ammunition that was given to people on the bay. We've had a bit of a golden year to just rip the piss out of Essendon, who we all hate anyway. And,
how good is the Hot Topics board?
Oh, yes.
The Hot Topic board was great. My favourite was the WADA thread on the Essendon board, which we've referenced here a few times, where just the anti-terror squad.
Strategy thread.
Strategy. Essendon supporters imploding on the bay was another thing. Yeah, strategy in that other flog.
Fish Darden or whatever.
Fishard Danson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone else started a thread. Hadouken's lost his shit numerous times, which I guess is something which can lead us to flog of the week, because Hadouken, he's not going to win it again. He's dodged a bullet again. He's been close about 4 times and he always just slips away. Who was it this week?
That's a tough pick. Probably someone bumped a thread from years ago saying that, you know, you got to bow down to Hayden Ballantyne, and it was night shift, I think. And even though he's not popped up on the bay much, that is a massive, massive backfire, and I would nominate him for Flog of the Week.
He's going by Bowie Cash these days, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is that him? So is that Bowie Cash?
Yeah.
Right, that's
Right.
it. Egg on face. You're the one. You're the fucking Flog of the Week, Bowie Cash.
What happened? I
So
thought
then
you
we're going to
were-
give it to someone from Hawthorn?
Why? I mean, they won the premiership.
Oh, yeah, but one of them's been really just going a bit over the top with his Cyril Rioli defence.
One that you suggested, Tyler.
What, the lyncher?
No, Cat Wrangler.
Oh, well, yeah, we can give it to the Cat Wrangler on the basis that he has defended Cyril's chicken winging to an inordinate length, when a lot of his other posters have admitted that the chicken winging was there. So, Cat Wrangler, you're it. Flog of the Week. We don't care if you got kidnapped by the Comancheros and got pack raped. You are the Flog of the Week.
Poor Wrangler.
Thread of the week. Do we have any nominations?
Westy Bogan.
Yep.
Yeah, going with that.
Harry O at the Brownlow.
Harry O'Brien was actually some good material that we could have mentioned as a highlight. He just confirmed to everyone else what we already thought.
He's a fucking wanker.
Yeah, he just showed the whole football world that he's a fucking wanker. And just on last week's poll before we move on, wasn't the most interesting one, but basically 5% of people said Dustin Martin would get through the alphabet. F to J was 5%, 5% for K to O, 5% for P to T, U to Y was 5%, and all the way through was 5%. 24% for A to E because Dusty doesn't get past the knee. That was a good comment from Royals. And the rest said Jack Watts can recite the alphabet and count to 3.
You'd be happy with that, Jack off Watts?
Yep. Oh, first thing we've won all year.
So let's now move on to the trade free agency period, starting with
Buddy wanting to sign with the Swans for an expected 9-year deal. Paddles is going to join us, but what are our thoughts? Because this is just mind-boggling.
Well, I didn't see it coming.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, 9 years? Seriously? He's 27 years old.
I think the
No,
9
Paddles?
years fits a load of shit. I highly doubt a team that's won 2 premierships in the last 10 years is that stupid.
I think you're right, Paddles. I think that it is a little bit of a smokescreen because Buddy is not going to play another 9 years. Let's face it. No one from his particular position and his particular strength is going to play for another 9 years. So it's a bit of a smokescreen to stop Hawthorn from matching the bid. What's he going to play? He's going to play 4 years maybe, at 4 or 5 years maybe at his best. And then there's going to be a renegotiation and there's going to be some parachute deal that comes out of the back of it. This is all to stop Hawthorn from matching the deal and thus getting a deal together which they can get something out of whilst he's a restricted free agent.
Honestly, I'm not sure whether that can be done because free agency is new. I don't know the ins and outs of how the contracts work, but there couldn't possibly be a way or a mechanism where the contract that's signed as a free agent or a restricted free agent, should I say, would be able to be negotiated at all before the end of its term, because otherwise that is literally cheating the system. That's like saying you're going to pay whatever 3 years, you're going to pay $2 million a year. You pay the $2 million the first year, then you renegotiate the last 2 down to $200K. You can't do that because you've cheated the other side out of it.
it defeats the purpose of having a system where bids get matched.
Do you seriously think he's going to play for 9 more years?
I think they're technically going to have to pay him the full worth of it over the course of 9 years, yeah. They won't be able to parachute out at any less than the $10 million that's being rumoured.
Well, I think that's just suicide for Sydney. Why would you do that? I mean, I'd be spewing if my club did that.
Unless they think it's going to pay its way through marketing and memberships going up with his presence at the club.
Yeah, because Brendan Foley worked so well at Brisbane.
Fev's a different story.
I mean, we remember what Lockett did for the Sydney market. Is this bigger than that?
Oh, no, I don't think so, because they've already got a marquee side. When they recruited Lockett, they were a basket case.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
they were finishing last, and they actually got into their first final series for a long time once they got Lockett, and they actually competed in a grand final. But it's different days for the Swans. They are a side that's always playing finals. And think about this. Why do you need Buddy on a small ground like the SCG when he is such a burst player that needs space around him and not congestion? That's another reason why it doesn't make sense to me.
I think there's only two ways out of this, to be honest. I think that Buddy Franklin getting paid this much over 9 years with the Swans, and as you said, they're competitive and they've got players to pay, as opposed to when Lockett came up. I think this either goes two ways. One, that it's entirely above board and they are forced to squeeze out a serious amount of players over the next couple of years that they just can't afford to keep, or two, something absolutely stinks, because this would be literally pushing the cap, including the COLA, stretching it to its absolute.
They do have 3 confirmed retirements in Bolton, Matner and Morton, and it looks like they're going to lose Jesse White to Collingwood and maybe Munford to GWS.
How much would you wager that Morton and White are on, though?
They wouldn't be on much.
No, they wouldn't be on much.
And Bolton comes under veterans too.
Morton would be on stale potatoes, but Mumford, I can't believe they're going to let Mumford go.
Pike went past him, but it's just odd.
Yeah, it's just madness. I just think that they've lost their minds, actually.
From a well-run club, this is just ridiculous.
Well, it's not every year you get an opportunity to get a big fish like Franklin is, and so it could work out. I mean, they'll probably be in contention for another flag next year, possibly the year after, but...
It's not every club that needs a big fish, though, especially when they went chasing one last year. That's the thing. They win a flag, and in the next 2 years, they get the 2 biggest recruits going around, the 2 priciest recruits. It makes no sense.
Tell you what, though, how much will the Horse be hating this?
Yes.
Their number one man going over to the Colas. Oh, the Premiership's going to keep them happy, but this is going to be a fair bit of ring sting for the Horse.
Oh, yeah. Some Hawthorn supporters are still looking over the fact that Sydney got an extra day last year, and this is even though they've just won the flag, they're still looking over it.
I've got to admit, if I was in their shoes, I'd be having a fair bit of ring sting as well, and I'd be having a fair moan about it. And I've just been looking out this afternoon on the bay, just looking for a bit of Suki Lala from some of them, and some of them have a fair bit of a moan.
Look, if this doesn't lead to a serious squeezing of their list and players departing, something is fucked up. And Eddie Maguire was on 360 tonight, and he was actually quite funny about it. That, all this stuff's done, and Swans, they get all shitty about the equalisation off field, but they don't care much for, keeping within the other rules that clubs are set to abide by, because it's not the EPL where you spend all the money. Like, if that was the case, the Swans would be sitting on the bottom because they don't have much money.
Yeah.
Like, they get looked after by the system. They shouldn't be allowed to exploit the system.
What annoys me is the fact that Sydney get to keep their collar and we don't get one.
It doesn't cost that much to live in Brisbane compared to where else.
You just need to be able to fight and throw cripples out of wheelchairs.
That's an interesting point that you make, Paddles, because considering the exodus that the Lions are facing, and it probably doesn't help that they've just replaced the coach and all, but if Buddy wanted to get out of the fishbowl, why did he not look at somewhere like Brisbane? I know he rejected GWS, God knows why, but Brisbane would have been a viable candidate for him too, but he has to go to the Swans, he has to go to a contender, and it shouldn't be allowed to happen.
Yeah, well, he's got one of his bros mates who plays for one of the rugby league sides that trains at the Sydney football ground right next to the SCG. So who is he? Bill is the one. The one that he.
I think he's a Waratahs player, but they play out of there too, don't they?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, one of the wankers he was in the hot tub with.
Culture.
Yeah, culture with a K when it comes to them, and he wants to live at Bondi. Well, who wouldn't? Have you guys ever lived at Bondi? Fucking great place.
One thing I do want to stress out is that even though I'm complaining that Sydney get a collar and we don't, the last thing I want is the AFL to give us a collar as well, because we shouldn't get one.
I don't oppose a collar in its actual genuine sense, and this should apply to Perth as well, where the players on minimum wage, the rookies or the first-year drafted players who are on between 50 and 70k, they could do with an extra 10% just to get them over there, but you got to draw a line somewhere.
Not for the superstars who are on.
It shouldn't affect the bloke on 1.1 million a year.
Yeah,
because that 9.8% becomes like an extra 100k.
In my personal opinion, the only team that should currently get a collar is GWS, because they genuinely do need one. Like Sydney and us, on the other hand, we've been established, we've got supporters, we shouldn't need one. Sydney are a well-run club, they don't need one. If we were a well-run club, we'd be okay. And there's Gold Coast who have the allure of the beach lifestyle, so I don't think they they need one either, and they actually do have some fans as well.
Well, what about us? I mean, you're all telling us what a fucking shithole it is down there, you know? So we need something to attract people to come down to that dung heap down there. And, you know, you're all giving money to people to go live in Sydney, which is a fucking great place. So, you know, it's ridiculous.
It is a bit odd. Honestly, if this is to be done legitimately without ambassadorial/third-party money, which Andrew Ireland actually was quoted today as saying there will be no ambassadorial money and it will not come out of the COLA. So that should be investigated. The AFL are investigating it, and hopefully that is proven to be correct. But they're looking at third-party deals. I can't see it being done if it's going to be done legitimately without Sam Reid being moved on and someone picking up the full tab on him at about $600K a year.
Pretty fair, I got to say.
He might end up at Carlton because Carlton have the money and Carlton have the need. But if that deal's to happen, the Swans are going to have to just offload him to whoever will take him. There'll be no first rounder for him. He'll be gone for pick 60.
So what do we think is going to be the downflow reaction to this? So Sydney, once they get Buddy, they're out of the trading period.
For about 4 years.
Oh, yeah. So what's the downflow reaction to this? What happens for Hawthorn? What happens for GWS and everyone around them?
Well, let's put it this way. I've not seen the clubs this united on anything since Essendon a couple of weeks ago. But this will be the end of the COLA.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think so. I think the COLA's got a long way to go.
Nah, not in its current form will it survive. It might survive in some form like what was suggested earlier, because I cherry-picked that idea from what's been said.
How do you deconstruct all of the contracts that are in place that exist under the COLA that have got 3 and 5 years to run?
You grandfather clause some of them, but also you merge it under the cap. Like it was done with the Carlton Vizzy deal, the Judd Vizzy deal. The last year of it, he had to, from memory, have it paid within the cap, and Carlton weren't happy, but the AFL said, yes, this is how it's going to be.
Oh, well, okay, smart ass, you got the answers. Good on you.
Yeah. So the 800K or whatever it is that they have to pay, they'll have to find room at the end of next year, and that will be the squeeze. They won't be able to re-sign players who come out of contract next year. So the vultures will start circling. If any of them want to stay in Sydney, they might move down the road, and the AFL and GWS win-win kind of thing out of the situation.
Very interesting. Yeah, okay.
That's my theory. Does anyone else have any ideas on how this will play out beyond now?
Yeah, I just reckon the existing players, the ones that have been there through the flags, they'll be filthy. These players just come in, get 800,000, million.
I reckon you're right, Jack off Watts. I think that all of the marginalised players at the Swans, it's really going to go, well, what have I done? I mean, I've played in the flag, I've busted my guts, and we're throwing massive amounts of cash at these show ponies, and what's left for me?
Yes or no for everyone? Is this the end of the Bloods culture? Everyone hinted Tippett might end it. Has Buddy ended it?
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no and wait and see.
I think that's how this is going to play out. Like, it's a wait and see on a lot of things. I think whether the deal's legit is a wait and see to see what happens to them in the next year or two and their player list management. But it's odd. I don't think anyone saw this coming.
No, not at all.
Funny thing is, several months ago, I was talking about Buddy with a few friends. I was just like, how funny would it be if Buddy goes to Sydney instead? Like, even though I know this is not going to happen, and it looks like it's going to happen.
Personally, I don't find it, unless it absolutely roots their club, I don't find it funny.
And that's more in relation to the Hawthorn butt hurt.
Oh, that is kind of funny.
Like, they took anything Sydney related.
They do. They absolutely have the massive butthurt against Sydney. And they've just won a fucking premiership. Oh.
Yeah, they're still butthurt.
I'd still be partying.
Yeah, I think they were all content to see him go. Everyone was kind of happy just about overall. Everyone could see why he would go to GWS. But when he goes to the Swans, the shit hits the fan, not only for Hawthorn supporters, but I think a lot of people in general don't like that.
Oh, I don't think anyone likes it. And I think that the Hawthorn supporters, they are biting hard. If you had to listen to SCN this afternoon, I heard some guys that they were absolutely venting, and they were not happy.
The goodwill has evaporated, hasn't it?
Ooh, yeah.
It looked like it was going to be pretty, Geelong, they weren't happy with Ablett. Some were understanding, and when he came back to that game this year, there was the applause when he kicked the goal and all that other shit. But
fuck silly.
This will not happen with Buddy Franklin now that he's gone to the Swans. It might have if he went elsewhere. He'd still be their buddy, but no, not anymore.
Oh, they will give him hell. When he returns to the MCG in Swans colours, they will not be happy. And they're a vindictive bunch. So you've got it coming, buddy. Be ready.
Jackoff, what's you noticed something interesting?
Yeah, just I was having a whinge about Roos pinching people off them, and then, next minute, pinching Buddy.
It's just a bit of a mind fuck, isn't it? The way that they actually got to take Tippett away from either Gold Coast or Brisbane, and the next year they've got the next biggest star coming in. I just think it's got disaster written all over it. You know, it's either going to wreck the club or it's going to cause, as we all hope, a massive overhaul of this Kohler situation so that they've got to play on a level playing field with everybody else.
That's actually a really good point, because if they overhaul the system, it's going to fuck the Swans. So it's either going to fuck the club or the competition. Someone's getting fucked.
Yeah.
And listening to Eddie Maguire today, there is no way equalisation will ever be on the table while Sydney have any mechanism in place to pay Buddy this much money and keep everyone or most of the players.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a very, very interesting couple of weeks coming up, haven't we? When it comes to trades and drafts and everything like that. Given the fact that the Bummers are out of the picture without draft picks and they've got guys like Cremery looking at the door, it's going to be interesting. So when we come back for the next Flogcast, I think we're going to have a lot to talk about.
But yeah, before we finish up looking at trade week, anything else catching people's eye?
Well, unfortunately, we knew it was going to happen. The great Josh Hunt has been given his marching orders from Geelong, but he's looking for another club. He won't get one, but he's gone.
Would you say he squibbed another contract?
Fuck off. He was a great player for us, I've got to say.
He was not a hard player, though, was he? Come on.
No, he wasn't.
He finishes his career pretty successfully, really, in terms of his accolades, but
he was the only one to play in the 3 premierships and not in the 08 loss.
Didn't Wojcinski do that too?
I don't think he played in 11.
No, he didn't. So, take your premiership medals, mate, and have a good time. I hope that they re-sign Chapman for another year. I think Chapman deserves another year, and he will be good enough for another year.
What's Yadley?
Probably not. But no word, Network. No word on Guerra yet.
Yeah, well, we need to know from Guerra because I think that will determine if we go after Heath Shaw or not. So, look, if he wants to retire, good on him. He's been a good servant and for 3 clubs. But there's a few of the guys that look, they've got 2 flags now. They're probably 30, 31. Look, it's really which way they want to go. Look, it's really up to them if they want to play on. I mean, they're probably good for another year or two. But just like Crawford in 2008, he could have played another year, but he just decided to retire. So I guess it happens.
Well, Guerra's got an outside of football job as a ambassador with his fake rug. But you went down to your home ground today in Tassie to say hello to everyone. And I think that all the announcements are going to come in the next few days. But yeah, there's a few out there looking for new clubs. Would anyone take Laidler? Played for Geelong. He was a pretty good halfback flanker. He did really well at Carlton, but then he was marginalised under Malthouse. I reckon he's got life in him. Anyone want a halfback flanker that can run up the flanks?
We've got a couple of those in Hooley and Floston. And especially when Heath Shaw's out there, it'll be hard unless someone wants a cheap option. But just before we move on from Heath Shaw being looked at Hawthorn, can that happen just so we can see next year some exchanges between Heath and Clarko? Because that would be... Heath gets angry as it is, but I just want to see how Clarko would respond to that.
So you're talking about 2 short men with a short fuse facing off at each other. That's holes in the wall sort of stuff there.
Yeah.
It would be like post-race in the Melbourne Cup. In the change rooms, those 2.
I think so. Yeah, there'd be some fireworks. That'd be good for the rest of us. I mean, we can watch some really ugly punch-ons going on, but not so good for Hawthorn.
Anyone else out there? Like Laidler? Yeah, did anyone have anything on Laidler?
No. What about what's happening with Yaron? Has he decided what he's doing yet?
I reckon he's in a bit of a Dustin Martin boat. I don't think as many clubs are probably as interested in him as you might like to think.
I think you're right. I mean, he's just not going to attract the attention, I don't think.
Moldhouse has played him out of his trade value this year, and he's played himself out of it.
Just on Dusty Martin, are you happy that he's signed for a couple of years, Fyfie?
It's concerning the amount of clubs that said no, because let's be honest, he got around like Kim Duffy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll tell you, Fyfie, because they haven't released the details of the 2-year deal, I reckon that's a certainty that he's come in with a haircut. He's got less than what he was offered previously.
I imagine that's the case. The rumour I've heard is he's getting offered basically what the original offer was like months and months ago. But all I can say is I feel for the bloke who went to all the effort of changing his iPhone background.
Oh, yes.
Now he's going to have to change it back, and we all know how hard that is.
It's a hard luck story, isn't it?
Dusty's put him through some serious pain.
Was his name Tiger Boys, that guy, or was it ever found out?
I'm suggesting Tiger Boys is still rocking a Nokia 5110. He doesn't have a background. I would doubt it very much it was Tiger Tiger Boys. And he'd have a photo of his cousin if he did anyway.
But to answer Dan's question, yes, because as I said last week, he can play football. And from the sound of things, we're getting him cheaper than what was anticipated just 2 weeks ago. He's dumb as they come, but...
Well, no one denies his talent as a footballer. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But, I mean, is it worth investing in him considering that, I mean, the guy wanted to go out and shop himself around. And this is a guy that's going to need monitoring and guidance for every single day he's at Richmond now. I mean, he can't even pay his own phone bill without help.
I think it's a case of the pros outweigh the cons. Not by a significant amount, but I think they still do. And whilst they outweigh the cons, he's worth having. But I think it would be wise to be looking at potentially how he could be replaced at some point if the need came and he does this again in 2 years' time.
Seriously shit tats, though.
Oh, yeah. Who gets a tattoo on the neck?
A fuckwit, that's who.
Pretty much. If there's one thing I've learned from the Dustin Martin thing, it's that the Richmond posters are so fucking fickle.
Didn't they come out and just axe him?
Oh, yeah. It was
That they
terrible.
saw.
I mean, when we first heard about Dustin shopping himself around, I mean, the general consensus on the Tiggers board was that, you know, he was a dog and a drugged up idiot and a traitor.
They were pretty emotional off the bat, but then if you go back, some of them had edited their posts and said,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I think I got carried away at the time.
Wasn't there someone wishing he would fall victim to a drug habit, overdose or something?
Overdose, yeah.
Yeah, smidge overreaction.
If you back a truck up and dump a bunch of chicken shit at the club gates, how do you go back and erase that post? I don't think you can do that.
You can wipe the spit off the coach at least, you know, like you can.
I guess you can spread the chicken shit over the Yarra Park and hope the grass grows or something.
He's back now, and it's kind of like the prodigal son has returned. And, you know, Dusty, we always believed in you, and we always thought you were a superstar, and blah, blah, blah.
It's been a bizarre little 2-week soap opera, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's been really condensed into this whole what the fuck, but...
Did anyone catch his manager, that Ralph Carr guy on SEN with the Ox?
Yeah, I heard it
what
this afternoon.
happened?
I didn't hear it, but apparently he just made himself look like an even bigger dick than what he already is.
He was lying through his teeth. Kept asking him, oh, so is he on the same money? Yeah, he's on the same money. Categorically, yeah, he's on the same money. Bullshit. It was lying through his teeth. It was... Yeah.
He got told to rip down some accreditations on his website where he said that he had been philanthropic towards certain charities, and he associated himself with a couple of charities that he'd had absolutely nothing to do with. And they said, no, we've never had any dealings with you. You've got to take it down off your website.
It's like Rompingwins, but not Wikipedia.
Exactly.
Just before we finish on Dusty, he ran second in the Richmond Best and Fairest. Did anyone see his speech?
Yeah, I watched it a couple of times. It was it was an interesting speech, I got to say. I mean, it's the sort of speech you would get from a guy that's had very little high school education, let's put it.
He wrote it. It was prepared. Did you see that? He had a piece of paper. It was a prepared speech.
I doubt he would have wrote it.
If he did, it was written in crayon.
Yeah. I mean, he was coming out with sort of the bogan phrases like use all and heaps, and said appreciate like 8 or 9 times.
Yeah, appreciate was the word of the speech, wasn't it? It was just, and then he set the record straight on Ralph Carr.
Oh, he's a good bloke, apparently.
Yeah.
Thank fuck he can play football, because you know where we'd be if he couldn't.
Oh, yeah.
He would be cellmate Block 1A next to Tony Mockbell in Barwon Prison.
Nah, he'd be abducting the cat wrangler.
Well, he had to say something. I mean, he won an award that night, so, I mean...
He could have thanked a few less people and done it, you know, broadly. You know, got off the stage in 15 words instead of, yeah, cringeworthy stuff, though.
Well, it's all going to get pretty interesting in the next couple of weeks when it comes to trades because, you know, everyone who's not punching about like the Mighty Fighting Hawks or the Premiers are going to be out there looking to find an edge. So there's going to be a fair bit, I think it's going to be a fair bit of action.
Who wants Nick Galsano?
Well, maybe one of their cheerleaders has got a very short vag.
Zach Dawson would take him.
Seriously, I think that he's been touted as heading to either Melbourne or Essendon.
He would fit in well at Essendon because with all those steroids they've been taking, he won't feel so out of place.
No, well, his cock's not going to shrink anymore, so no, he could just be fine.
He seriously just needs a penile implant.
Oh, fuck.
Well, he does.
The funniest thing is, I've never even seen the picture. It's just everyone says it's true, so it must be.
Oh, it's small. Oh, I'll tell you.
That's an understatement.
Anyway, nothing more on trade week.
We're not back till after trade week, is that right, Fyfie?
Yeah, so I guess that's as good a segue as any to move on to the fact that, yeah, this is the last one for the season itself, or last weekly one. Throughout the off-season, we'll be back, trade week, draft, depending on, I guess, when we feel like it, but we won't be going away completely. Hooray.
Yeah, you'll get to listen to more of our shit later in the year.
Yeah, and some outtakes.
Oh, yes.
The stuff that didn't make it, I think first cab off the rank will be, it's an exciting one, it'll be our extended interview with Suze.
Oh, jeez.
I still don't believe that was actually Suze.
Oh, it was.
I seriously thought that was one of you guys' girlfriends just putting themselves up for Suze. And that was actually Suze, really?
That was Suze, and look, it does not disappoint. It was fantastic.
Oh, shit.
But before we go, we've had a lot of fun on the Flogcast this year, and for our last weekly episode, it seemed apt that we have our very own circle jerk by having the top 5 moments from the Flogcast this year. So, number 5...
Yeah, but I've also just received some feedback. I have no idea how this feedback came to us because we haven't even broadcast, but got a private message from Roy Lyon telling me that Fitzroy never folded, that we've been wrong to say it, and
he's got you. His spidey senses tingling.
Someone said Fitzroy folded, and he's just gone.
Mate, he's got a wall of text waiting to click reply on this. The first time you put this podcast up,
he's just waiting for the thread to be posted.
Yeah.
He's got some sort of alert message in his brain that when everyone says Fitzroy and fold, like, you know, in the same sentence, just pings off in his head. He's straight on it, obviously.
I really feel for the laundry service in Fitzroy, and they must get him there every other day just harassing them.
Number 4.
Does anyone else think that James Hird is the biggest weasel that's ever lived?
Do you know what I enjoyed most out of today? You know, with the I'm not sure if you saw it, there was like an AFL watch on the Essendon saga today, and it was just a massive non-event where like the most exciting thing was like a pizza delivery being delivered to the journos.
And the ice cream truck.
Yeah. What I did enjoy was when Hird did appear and they asked him what he'd been up to this morning, and he said he'd been reading books to children. Well, my mind immediately flashed to him, you know, having a bunch of kids strapped into chairs like a Clockwork Orange and him reading Mein Kampf to them or something. It didn't go to the Hungry Little Caterpillar. He was reading something like the Charles Manson Diaries or something. It was just such an odd thing for him to say he was doing.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time he'd injected something untoward into a young person.
Number 3.
Susie, we're going to play a little game of word association. Are you familiar with that game?
Yep.
Like if I say sky, you might say blue.
Yep.
So
Yep. First thing comes in your head, you say it. Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to give you a word association test, all right? So north,
Winners.
line,
Shit.
Ballarat,
Freezing.
big footy,
Crap.
respect,
Awesome.
umpiring,
Fantastic.
Brad,
Cousin.
pizza,
Yeah, great.
Cheek.
Yeah, he's alright.
Phil,
He's a dickhead.
reap,
He's a wanker.
horse,
Who the fuck is he?
farts,
Gross.
Ben Warren,
Pass.
success,
Awesome.
honesty,
Cool.
Essendon,
They suck.
love,
Yeah, awesome.
footy.
Awesome.
You can't say awesome to everything.
Yeah, I was about to say, you should say awesome and find out what the word for that is.
Limbo club,
Fucking shit.
harsh. Sex,
Pass.
beach,
Fantastic.
cheese,
Okay.
dogs,
Stink.
forum.
Yeah, Aussie footy's good.
Okay, I'm done.
Suze, have you always passed on sex?
Yeah, I've always passed on that.
All right, now
She also passed on Milky Warren too, just saying.
It's not for everyone, Wrangler.
that's true. I understand.
Not everyone has a choice.
Not everyone is Bombers 2003 and thinking about it every day.
That's true.
One more word association. Bombers 2003.
He's a dickhead.
Oh, he's as bad as Phil. What do you think of the messages he sends?
Awesome.
Number 2.
There's an elephant in the room here, and I think it's time to settle a bit of an urban myth on the bay. And I'm just going to ask you straight out, Tyler, are you Mr. Kellett the Crying Cat?
You mean the teach?
Yes.
No, thank Christ. I don't cry at the football, and I do not sit in the cheer squad. My God.
Just to put everyone's mind at ease, can you just repeat these words to me, just to be sure, because everyone's thinking you're him. Everyone is calling you Tyler Kellett behind your back. I will certainly be in people's faces if anyone criticises Gary Ablett, and I'll get stuck into them.
Fuck off.
Okay, Tyler, respect. But I just got to ask you, afraid of saying, about Gary Ablett because you're afraid of crying for real if you say this?
I seriously couldn't give a flat fuck about Gary Ablett, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's what Mr. Kellett said. Look, it's okay if you won't say it because everyone already thinks that you're Mr. Kellett anyway. So if you're afraid to say it, then everyone, I guess, is just going to know you're him. But, I get it. Mum's the word Tyler Kellett. The secret's safe with me.
Okay, I'm Tyler Kellett, and I'm the teacher, and I love Gary Ablett, and you just lay off him, all right?
I think you are him. That was a lot like him. I knew it was you, Tyler Kellett.
And the number one Flogcast moment from this year.
I hear there's a new poster on the board that's making a bit of a loud noise too. STP18. He's had a blessing from Alter Rob.
Do you have any Elias's?
What?
Does he have any Elias's?
Elias's?
Alias or Alias.
Alias.
Doesn't he play rugby, Elias?
I've always pronounced it that, not Alias at all. I pronounced it Elias's. I don't know why.
Sorry, man. I made you say that 3 times just so I could hear it.
But yeah, so I guess that's everything. So thanks for listening. This was the Flogcast for the post-grand final edition. Fyfie joined by You Don't Know Jack. We've just outed him. I hope that was all right.
Yeah.
Dan,
Yeah, see you later.
outing another one here in Bender.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I didn't know you were Bender.
Yeah, you had no idea.
No.
You did a good job of dissing yourself as Duckula, though.
Yeah, it was points for that and actually finding someone to pretend to be you.
Yeah, I got to say thank you to Probeaters for going along with it as well.
Network Nerd
Yep. Nice.
and the teach Tyler Durden.
Sing something.
Before he sings, because it's the last one, also special thanks to everyone else who's been on. The Cat Wrangler, who hopefully he'll get back from the Comancheros.
Survives.
Yep, Pants Kyle, Stronzo, Ant, Cthulhu, Mardo, Go Griff, and of course Paddles. And also from those working behind the scenes who haven't been on but have been offering insights in Royals, VJ Knight, and Ugak. And Les Norton.
Penal.
Yeah, and Penal Pavlich, who put together a fantastic video as well that we've been using in the YouTube videos, and Dan's work with the Photoshops has been excellent.
Yeah, isn't that just great?
And thanks also to Chief, Jimboy, and the Wookie for their help with getting this started and also keeping it running. So, yeah, Teach, take us away. Finish us off on the high, because we don't have Paddles to sing. It's going to have to be Teach.
So this was the closeout song for Breaking Bad, the greatest drama of all time, Badfinger, Baby Blue. You guys know this song? Yes, you don't, do you?
I heard it on Breaking Bad. That's it.
Okay. Yes, I got what I deserved. Kept you waiting there too long, my love. All that time without a word. Didn't know you'd think I'd forget, I'd regret the special love I had for you, my baby blue.
Kazakhstan, greatest.
Fucking Kazakhstan.